I never told my daughter Rebecca about the $28,000 I made every single month. To her, I was just Grandma Ellie, the quirky old lady who drove a rusty 1998 Honda Civic with the duct-taped bumper, who wore the same faded floral blouse she bought at the Salvation Army in 2012, who clipped coupons at the kitchen table under the dim light of a 40-year-old lamp. She believed me. Her husband, Derek, believed me. Even my grandchildren believed I was one small Social Security check away from eating cat food. And that was exactly how I wanted it. Until the night of the big family reunion at the lake house they all thought I could never afford. The night my daughter and son-in-law decided to humiliate Thrift-Store Grandma in front of 30 relatives, laughing about how embarrassing I was, how I was a burden, how they were the ones carrying the family. The night I finally stopped pretending. The night I revealed that every college tuition, every medical bill, every house down payment, every single miracle that had saved their lives for the last 15 years had come from me, through a foundation they never knew existed. And then I told them I was stopping it all until they learned gratitude. Let me take you back. Let me tell you who I really am. Because my daughter Rebecca, at 42 years old, never knew the truth about her mother. To her, I was always the widow who never quite recovered after her father died, the woman who worked as a part-time bookkeeper at a small insurance office until she retired at 65, the one who lived in the same modest 3-bedroom ranch house we bought in 1987. I never corrected her. I never told her that I had quietly built a real estate empire worth over $320 million. I never told her that I created the Hargrove Legacy Foundation the year after her father passed, a private charitable organization that had anonymously paid for every grandchild's education, every family medical emergency, every mortgage crisis they thought was just lucky timing. I never told her that the thrift store clothes, the old car, the simple life were my deliberate choice, so my only child would grow up understanding that real wealth is measured in character, not in bank balances. Why hide it? Because I watched money destroy too many families. Because when my husband Robert died of a sudden heart attack in 1998, leaving me with a 9-year-old daughter and a mountain of medical debt, I made a vow. I would never let money raise Rebecca the way it raised the spoiled children I saw around us. I wanted her to know struggle, to know the dignity of work, to know that love isn't bought with designer handbags or luxury vacations. So I lived the part. I shopped exclusively at thrift stores. I drove the same Civic until the engine finally gave out last year, and I bought another used one for cash. I cooked every meal from scratch, clipped every coupon, and never once flashed a credit card that would give away my secret. Meanwhile, my investments grew in silence. I bought apartment buildings under LLCs no one could trace to me. I flipped commercial properties. I created the foundation and funneled millions through it anonymously. No one knew, not even Rebecca, until the family reunion. It started with a phone call 3 weeks earlier. "Mom, we're doing the big reunion at the lake house this summer," Rebecca said, her voice already carrying that familiar mix of excitement and subtle pressure. "Derek's parents are coming in from Florida, all the cousins, everyone. It's going to be huge, like 60 people over the weekend. We need to rent the big pavilion and the boats and everything. You're coming, right?" I smiled into the phone, even though she couldn't see me. Of course I'm coming, sweetheart. Wouldn't miss it." There was a pause. I could hear Derek in the background muttering something. "Great," Rebecca continued a little too brightly. "Look, Mom, things are a little tight right now. The kids' tuition is due again, and Derek's business is in a slow patch. We were hoping you could chip in a little for the reunion costs. Nothing crazy. Maybe $2,000 or $3,000, just to help with the food and rentals." I felt the familiar twist in my stomach. This wasn't the first time. It was the 20th. Maybe the 50th. "I'll see what I can do," I said softly. Derek's voice came on the line, louder. "Ellie, come on. We all know you're on a fixed income. But family helps family, right? You don't want to be the only one not pulling your weight." I kept my voice gentle. "I understand, Derek. I'll do what I can." When I hung up, I sat in my quiet kitchen, the same one where I'd made Rebecca's school lunches for 12 years, and looked at the faded photo of Robert on the fridge. "You always said I was too soft with her," I whispered to him. "Maybe it's time they learned the truth." I decided right then I would go to the reunion exactly as they expected. Thrift-Store Grandma in her worn-out cardigan, carrying the same canvas tote bag from 2009, driving the old Civic with the squeaky brakes. I wanted to see their true faces one last time. I wanted to feel how they treated me when they thought I had nothing left to give. Because my instinct told me this time would be different. This time I was done protecting them from the truth. The weeks leading up to the reunion were filled with the usual requests. First it was Tyler, my oldest grandson, 21 years old, calling to say his car needed new tires. "Grandma, I know you're on a budget, but could you spot me $400? I'll pay you back when I get my next paycheck." I wired him $600 anonymously through the foundation the same day, and told him I could only manage $200 when he called to thank me. Then Sophia, my 17-year-old granddaughter, needed braces adjusted and her cheerleading uniform. Rebecca texted me photos of the bills. "Mom, this is killing us. Anything you can do?" I covered the entire $2,800 bill through the foundation and sent Rebecca a check for $300 with a note that said, "Love you, honey. Wish I could do more." Little Jake, only 9, needed new glasses after he broke his at baseball practice. Derek called me himself. "Ellie, the insurance deductible is insane. We're looking at $1,200 out of pocket. You know how much we love you. Any chance you can help your favorite grandson?" I paid it all and sent them $400 in the mail. Every single time they mocked me. At a family barbecue 2 weekends before the reunion, Derek laughed loudly in front of everyone. "Ellie's still wearing that same sweater from the 80s. Babe, when are you going to take your mom shopping at a real store instead of the Goodwill?" Rebecca giggled along. "Mom, seriously, you could at least let us buy you some new clothes. It's embarrassing when people ask if you're okay." The cousins joined in. "Thrift-Store Grandma strikes again." I just smiled my small, tired smile and said, "These clothes still have plenty of life left in them. Why waste money?" Inside, something hardened. The lake house they rented for the reunion was beautiful. A massive 6-bedroom property right on the water that cost $12,000 for the weekend. They had no idea I owned 3 similar properties through my company and could have bought the entire place outright. I arrived on Friday afternoon in my old Civic, the engine coughing as I pulled into the gravel driveway. I was wearing my favorite thrift find, a pale blue cardigan with a small moth hole on the sleeve that I had carefully mended, a pair of comfortable beige slacks from 2015, and sensible white sneakers that had seen better days. My hair was pulled back in a simple bun. No makeup, no jewelry except the thin gold wedding band Robert gave me in 1986. The moment I stepped out, the comments started. Derek was the first. He stood on the porch with a beer in his hand, wearing designer sunglasses and a polo shirt that cost more than my monthly grocery budget, or so they thought. Ellie, you made it. Nice car. Did the duct tape hold up on the drive? Laughter from the porch. Rebecca came down the steps and hugged me quickly. The kind of hug that said, I love you, but please don't embarrass me. Mom, you look comfortable. We saved you the small bedroom upstairs, the one with the twin bed. I smiled. That's perfect, honey. Thank you. Inside, the house was filled with family. Cousins I hadn't seen in years. Derek's parents looking polished and superior. Teenagers glued to their phones. Little kids running everywhere. The mockery continued all afternoon. At dinner that first night, a catered spread they made me chip in, $200 for. Derek raised his glass. To family and to Ellie, who always finds the best bargains at the thrift store. Hey, Mom, did you get that sweater for $3 again? More laughter. Rebecca leaned over. Mom, seriously, we could have bought you something nice. People are starting to talk. I kept eating my pasta quietly. It's fine, dear. I'm comfortable. Later that evening, when the kids were in bed, the adults gathered on the big deck overlooking the lake. Wine was flowing. Voices were loud. Derek's mother, Patricia, said loudly enough for everyone to hear, Rebecca, darling, I don't know how you do it. Supporting your mother on top of everything else. It must be exhausting. Rebecca sighed theatrically. She refuses to let us help her upgrade her life. I've offered to pay for a new car, new clothes, even to move her into a nicer place near us. But no, Thrift-Store Grandma wants to stay independent. Derek jumped in. We've been carrying her for years. Every time the grandkids need something, guess who gets the call? Us. But we do it because that's family. I sat in the corner chair, the one slightly in the shadows, and listened to every word. They listed every sacrifice they had made for me. How they had to skip a vacation last year because they helped with Jake's glasses. How Rebecca had to work extra hours because my fixed income wasn't enough to cover my own bills. How embarrassing it was to explain to their rich friends why Grandma showed up to Tyler's college graduation in clothes from 2008. Not once did anyone ask how I was really doing. Not once did they thank me for the anonymous checks that had kept their lives afloat. I felt the cold rage settle in my chest like a stone, but I waited. The reunion continued for 2 more days of activities. Boating games, a big barbecue on Saturday night. Every moment gave them new chances to poke fun at me. On Saturday afternoon, while the kids were swimming, Rebecca pulled me aside near the dock. Mom, can we talk? Her voice was that special mix of concern and irritation. Derek and I have been thinking, with the economy the way it is and the kids getting older, we really need more help. Tyler wants to study abroad next semester. It's $28,000. We can't swing it alone. And Sophia's cheer scholarship fell through. We were hoping you could finally dip into whatever savings Dad left you and contribute meaningfully, like 10 or 15,000. It would mean the world. I looked at my daughter. the little girl I had rocked to sleep after her father died, the woman I had quietly funded through college, through her wedding, through every crisis. I said softly, "I'll think about it, sweetheart." She rolled her eyes. "Mom, come on. We all know you have that old 401k from the insurance office. It's time to use it for the family instead of hoarding it." Derek walked up behind her. "Ellie, no pressure, but we're the ones paying for this whole reunion, basically. The least you could do is step up for the kids." I nodded. "I understand." That night was the big family talent show and slideshow in the pavilion. I had prepared something special. After the kids performed their silly skits and the cousins sang off-key, I stood up slowly. I was still wearing the same cardigan. My hands trembled slightly, not from nerves, but from the weight of what I was about to do. The room quieted. Some people smiled indulgently, expecting Thrift-Store Grandma to tell a sweet story about the old days. I cleared my throat. "Family," I began, my voice steady and stronger than they had ever heard it. "I've listened all weekend. I've heard every joke about my clothes, my car, my cheap ways. I've heard how much you've all sacrificed for me. And I've heard how grateful you are for the help you've received over the years." Rebecca shifted uncomfortably. Derek crossed his arms. I continued. 15 years ago, after your father died, I made a choice. I chose to live simply so that Rebecca could grow up knowing the value of hard work and humility. What you don't know is that I never stopped working. I never stopped investing. And in 2003, I created something called the Hargrove Legacy Foundation. A few people frowned, confused. I pulled out my phone and projected a simple slide I had prepared on the big screen behind me. It showed the foundation's logo, elegant, understated. This foundation has paid for every single thing you thought was luck or a miracle. Tyler's entire college tuition so far, $140,000. Sophia's private tutoring and cheer expenses, $28,000. Jake's medical bills after his asthma diagnosis, $42,000. Rebecca and Derek's house down payment in 2018 when you were upside down on your mortgage, $85,000. The new roof on your house last year. The car repairs. The emergency funds when Derek's business almost went under. All of it. Anonymous. Quiet. Because I didn't want gratitude for the money. I wanted gratitude for the love. The room was completely silent. Rebecca's face went white. Derek looked like someone had punched him in the stomach. I kept going, voice calm, but carrying across the pavilion. I have never been poor. I am the majority owner of 7 commercial properties, 3 apartment complexes, and a portfolio that generates more in a month than most of you make in a year. I chose this life, the thrift stores, the old car, the simple house, so that my family would learn what really matters. I looked directly at my daughter. "Rebecca, I love you more than life itself. But tonight I heard you call me a burden. I heard your husband say I was embarrassing. I heard your children laugh along with the jokes about Thrift-Store Grandma. And I realized something. My plan failed. The money I gave you didn't teach you humility. It taught you entitlement." Tears were starting to form in Rebecca's eyes. I took a deep breath. "So here is my decision. Effective immediately, the foundation is pausing all support for this family. No more tuition, no more medical, no more down payments, no more anonymous checks. I will continue to love you. I will continue to be here for every birthday and holiday. But the financial support stops today until each of you learns genuine gratitude. until you can look at me, or anyone who has less than you, and treat them with the respect every human being deserves, not based on what they can give you. I turned to the grandchildren. Tyler, Sophia, Jake, this is not punishment. This is love. I want you to become the kind of people who work for what they have, who help others without keeping score, who understand that a grandmother in a moth-eaten cardigan is still worthy of kindness. I looked back at Rebecca and Derek. You have two choices. You can be angry. You can cut me out. Or you can use this as the wake-up call I wish I had given you years ago. The choice is yours. I stepped down from the small stage. The silence was deafening. Then Tyler stood up slowly. My oldest grandson walked over and wrapped his arms around me. Grandma, I had no idea. I'm so sorry. I love you. Sophia followed, crying. Jake ran and hugged my legs. Rebecca stayed seated for a long moment, tears streaming down her face. Then she stood and walked to me. Her voice broke. Mom, I don't know what to say. I've been awful. We've all been awful. Derek couldn't even look at me. The rest of the night was a blur of conversations. Some cousins were shocked. Derek's parents tried to defend their son, but eventually fell quiet when I showed them the foundation's public tax filings on my phone. Everything verified, everything legal, everything undeniable. I didn't yell, I didn't gloat. I simply told the truth I had carried alone for 26 years. The next morning, Rebecca showed up at my small room before anyone else was awake. She looked like she hadn't slept. Mom, she whispered, sitting on the edge of the twin bed, I spent all night reading about the foundation. Everything you said. It's true, you've been paying for our entire lives. And we treated you like you were the burden. I don't know how to fix this. I took her hand, the same hand I used to hold when she was scared of thunderstorms. You start by saying thank you, not for the money, for the love. And then you teach your children that people are not defined by their bank accounts or their clothes. She cried harder. I'm so ashamed. Good, I said gently. Shame can be the beginning of change, but only if you let it. Derek came in a few minutes later. He looked smaller somehow. Ellie, Mrs. Hargrove. I don't have the words. I was cruel. I thought I was better than you. I was wrong. I nodded. Words are easy, Derek. Actions are harder. Show me you mean it by how you treat people from now on, starting with your own mother-in-law. The rest of the reunion was quieter. The jokes stopped. The laughter felt more genuine. The grandchildren started asking me real questions about my life, about Grandpa Robert, about how I built everything. I answered every one. On the final day, as everyone was packing cars, Tyler came to me privately. Grandma, I called the university. I'm applying for every scholarship and work-study program there is. I don't want you to pay any more. Not until I earn it. Sophia hugged me. I'm getting a part-time job. No more depending on you for cheer stuff. Even little Jake said, Grandma, I'm going to mow lawns this summer so I can buy my own new glasses if I break them again. My heart swelled with something I hadn't felt in years. Hope. Rebecca and Derek approached me as I was loading my old Civic. Mom, Rebecca said, voice steady for the first time all weekend. We talked all night. We're going to sell the fancy SUV we don't need. We're cutting back on everything. And we're going to start volunteering at the local shelter, the one you've been quietly funding for years. We want to learn what you tried to teach us. Derek added, and we're paying you back every penny we can, not because we have to, because we want to. I smiled, a real smile this time. Then the foundation will be here when you need it again, not as a crutch, as a safety net earned through gratitude and growth. I got into my old car. The engine coughed once, then started. As I drove away from the lake house, I looked in the rearview mirror. Rebecca, Derek, and the grandchildren stood on the porch, waving, not out of obligation, but with something new in their eyes: respect. I drove the 3 hours home in silence, the radio off, the windows down. The warm summer air smelled like freedom. When I pulled into my driveway, the same modest house I had lived in for 37 years, I sat in the car for a long time. I thought about Robert. I thought about the nights I cried alone after he died, wondering how I would raise our daughter. I thought about every sacrifice, every late-night investment meeting I attended in secret, every time I chose the thrift store over the mall so I could put more into the foundation. It had all been worth it, because tonight, for the first time, my family saw me, not as Thrift-Store Grandma, not as a burden. They saw me as the woman who loved them enough to tell the truth. I went inside, made myself a cup of tea in my old kettle, and sat at the kitchen table. My phone buzzed. A text from Rebecca. "Mom, thank you for everything, for the money, for the lessons, for still loving us even when we didn't deserve it. We're going to make you proud. I love you." I replied with 3 simple words I had waited decades to feel were truly earned. "I love you too." Then I opened my laptop and looked at the foundation's dashboard. Millions still sat there, ready for other families who needed quiet help. I closed it with a smile. My work here wasn't finished. It was just beginning again, this time with a family that was finally ready to learn what real wealth looks like. And that, more than any dollar amount in any account, was the greatest gift I could ever give. Did you like the story? Which part moved you the most? The humiliation on the deck, the big reveal at the pavilion, or the quiet morning after, when the family finally woke up? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of humility and gratitude, please hit that super thanks button so I can keep bringing more powerful life stories like this one to you. I'm creating these stories from Brampton, Ontario. Where are you watching from? Let's connect in the comments and share your own family stories. And if you want more tales about secret wealth, family awakenings, and lessons money can't buy, make sure you're subscribed and the notification bell is on. 2 brand new stories are waiting for you right now on the screen. See you in the next one. With love and respect.